Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September 2023 Evergreen Cataloging Interest Group. I am Jennifer Weston. I'm the facilitator of this fine group. And as always, I'd like to thank the others that are part of the organizing committee for keeping the momentum going with this group year after year. Their names are listed at the top of the agenda, as always. And a special thank you to Carol Witt, who has joined the organizing committee. We very much appreciate you and welcome you onto the group. I am going to make the screen a little bit bigger because I still feel like that's a little small. There we go. Is the font large enough for screen sharing for the agenda? Thumbs up anywhere, please. Looks good. Okay, fantastic. For anyone who is new to this, and we may have a few new names on here, I see. A very special welcome to you. And our agenda magically turns into our notes as we go along. So everyone should have access to be able to edit this document that I'm now sharing and that was distributed through email. So if anybody wants to add a note or drop any notes at the bottom, please feel free to. We members of the organizing committee like to take notes as we go along. So you'll see that happening. And then my notes tend to require a little bit of cleanup afterwards, and I will do that and then post them to the wiki. We're obviously being recorded. This recording will go up, I'd like to say 24 to 48 hours, but I'll just say honestly, it'll probably be within a week so that this will be up. But I will tend to send a note to the listserv. If I don't, just check the wiki and the recordings are there. All the recording is there from August, but I was late getting it up. So if you missed last month and you want to watch the recording, it is there now. These notes will accompany it. So today we've got our usual just standing items that we'll work through. And then our primary program today is we're going to start talking about monograph parts. And you can't do it just in one day. So that's why we are part one of parts. And we do find ourselves amusing, and I hope you do, because we like saying part one of parts. Next month is part two of parts. It'll be a little more formal. This month we're just talking about what parts are and how they can be used in libraries. And Mary and Kate talk about UC4. Mary Llewellyn and Kate Coleman agreed to share how they're using parts in their libraries just to get the conversation started. But this is just kind of an open discussion about parts and kind of any questions anybody has about parts or the current status, any celebrations or frustrations that we want to talk about. And then, of course, next month, we'll share a little more. Yeah. Yeah, I see actual excitement in the chat about parts. And thank you to Jessica Efron for sharing the North Carolina documentation. We'll make sure that ends up in the notes. That's kind of a preview for what's to come. I'll quickly run through our regular standing agenda items here. There's a link to our wiki. As always, it's a work in progress. No real big updates for the authorities working group and BibFrame study group pages. Just a reminder that they are there and they live off of the cataloging interest group. They're just additional pages there. No big update about release notes since the last time we were together. The last releases were in July. We talked a little bit about the newest releases last month. So if you missed that, it's in the notes. You see the latest versions there, tabular release notes. I am horribly neglectful of such a thing, but I do promise that I will get these done by the end of the month. Right now, 311 is not completely up to date on the tabular release notes. I've got a version started, but I haven't moved it over yet. I haven't fully finished vetting it. As soon as I get that proofread, I will move it over. I promise. Tabular release notes, if you're not familiar, or exactly that, there's just a tab for each version. So 310 has a tab, 311 will, etc. It allows us to kind of do some quick reviewing what was there. Mary Llewellyn just made a note in chat, says she thinks this can be accessed outside of their organization. Thank you, Mary. You know what? I'll just leave it in chat notes and then wait. Okay, we got two links now. And if for any reason they shouldn't be included in the final notes, just let me know. Moving on along here as we're preparing to talk about parts, latest releases, there is a tab on our cataloging interest group wiki page. Should you need just a quick and easy place to go to see the latest releases, you certainly are welcome to use that as yet another reference tool for you. It points to all the notes. It includes all the older versions too. I took away everything on our agenda here other than those that are still supported. Currently 394 is just for security only. 310 and 311 are having active point releases. All the others are still, well, most all the others going back many years are on this latest releases tab. Everything else is kind of same thing there. Official docs. Community demo servers, I believe, were updated today. Let's see. I just want to, pardon me while I check this out because I had word that I think that 311 this is actually 311. Let's check that out. If I could remember the password long enough the password is demo123. There you go. Community servers are very nice that if you are working on a version of Evergreen that is older than this community server, this gives you a way to check it out. And whatever you do to this, it gets updated once a week, refreshed once a week. Pardon me while I continue to sign into the demo server and go to About. We are on 3.11.1. Hooray! Something to celebrate. So 3.11.1 is now the newest version of the demo server. So I will update that to say 3.11.1. That's excellent news. If you haven't seen 3.11 and you'd like to experiment a little bit, this is the way to do that. You do exactly what I just did. Just choose a branch to log into, and there's your password, and that lives on the community demo server page. Woohoo! Put it in red because I like to celebrate these things. Now on 3.11. Okay. And there we go. Which brings us to celebrations before we move on to our program. And I promise I'll get all these things that you're putting in chat, but please continue to do so. Any documentation your libraries have about monograph parts. I kind of swiveling between the two. One of the things that we decided as an organizing committee we wanted to take time for this month was to really celebrate the most recent bug squashing week because it was huge. There was lots of activity, lots of progress. And Taryn is here with us today, so we can say thank you to Taryn once again for wrangling all of this and making it so easy for us to participate, but also keeping us updated on all the activities that are going on during the week. So Taryn, do you mind taking a few moments and just talk about the most recent one?
Hi, sure. Thanks, everyone. So I'm going to put the link to the last spreadsheet into chat. And we covered a lot. We had several test servers going. And there were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cataloging specific bugs that were signed off, most of which were actually committed to main during the same week to the main repo. Most of those had to deal with the Mark Flat editor and fast item add and enhancing or improving the keyboard shortcuts and the cursor focus to improve the efficiency of people using the interfaces. And also to fix a bug where the Angular Holdings editor was not recognizing the default classification schema setting. So that is signed off and will probably be committed during the next phase. So all of these will be added into 3.12. And the next, as you can see from the link, a number of other areas were also improved, some of which may have kind of cataloging adjacent improvements. And the next Feedback Fest has not been scheduled yet, but will probably be in November. And that will be to take a look at 3.12 once we have a beta out. I'm going to be on the release team for 3.12, but we haven't had our first meeting yet. We'll meet on Friday, so after that we'll figure out the schedule and then let everyone know when the next Feedback Fest and everything is going to be available. I think that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
No, I was just trying to capture notes. This is wonderful. And you're right. So much of that is cataloging adjacent, even though it doesn't say cataloging on it, it very much affects what we do in the cataloging world.
Yes, especially the accessibility things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'll just come back to menus, but mini cataloging and cataloging adjacent things. And I'm going to spell adjacent correctly the first time. Look at me. And I'll go back and fix that. Okay. And we're very excited that you're going to be on the release team. Woohoo. Thank you. Anything that we can do between bug squashing weeks? I'm just prompting you to talk about how people can get involved when it's not bug squashing week.
Yes, like you mentioned, the community servers are up and running. So one of the best things that you can do during bug squashing weeks is to take a look at bugs that have been reported that have not been confirmed yet. And you can test those either against your own data in some cases or against one of the community test servers to see if you can confirm that bug. Because sometimes they're not really bugs; they're more configuration issues or something like that, or somebody interpreting how something should work when it really works a different way. So it's more of a documentation issue sometimes. But the more information you can add to those is really useful. For anybody that isn't familiar with Launchpad, I'll put a link to Launchpad in chat. And anybody can create a Launchpad account, even if you don't need to be a developer or anything. And once you have a Launchpad account set up, then you can comment on existing bugs. You can add tags to bugs. You can confirm them or add additional information to them, that sort of thing. So those are really useful things that you can do. And then usually if somebody submits a patch that they think might fix a bug, you don't necessarily have to wait until the next bug squashing week to get it tested. You can usually reach out to somebody like me or one of the other um, people that hosts a public development server, and we can probably get it loaded so you can test ahead of time. I'm just watching you type now.
Okay, and I was muted. I was just typing enough in my notes, so I'll remember to come back and add that. Fabulous. I always forget to say that about getting patches loaded to servers because that's one of those things that can just kind of be a bit of a wrinkle if you want to see something. You're like, well, I can't load this patch to a server. How do I go about doing that? And there's a community there that can certainly help do
Yeah,
just that.
there are several of us, Tiffany, who I work with, and our new developer, Stephen, all have test servers that are available. So Stephen's still learning how to how to get things loaded and stuff, but one of us can usually do it if nobody else can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Taryn before we move on? I really do appreciate you being here today. It's a lot of people, but a quiet group. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're also part of the next note because we talk about 312 release team has been formed. So Andrea is here with us, Andrea Bunce-Nyman, Jane Sandberg, I'm not sure she is. There's so many of us I can't see. That's a fabulous thing. Anyway, I was going to see some of the others are here. Taryn, Gary. Oh, and thanks, Andrew. You must have updated it. Andrew, do you want to say anything about the release team or anybody else want to say anything about the release team and what that really means, even that there is a release team for 312?
Hi, yes. Excuse me. I'm
Sorry.
definitely eating my lunch during this meeting, was not prepared to talk.
Surprise.
Surprise. No, just thank you to everyone who has stepped up so far. I'm not entirely sure why I ended up volunteering myself to be in charge of this, but we'll all learn together. And as Taryn mentioned, we're having our first meeting on Friday, and after that, I will be putting out a schedule of various 312 activities. So yeah, that will include things like with the roadmap, that and all of the other regular stuff that normally goes out with a release. So yeah, we'll be putting out 312.
Yay, exciting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm bad at extemporaneous speaking, y'all.
Sorry. I'm like, well, while you're here, we should acknowledge you, but I appreciate it. I know sometimes we'll say things like, there's a 312 team. Like people are going, well, that's good. And I'm not sure what that means, but yay, 312. What it does not mean is that it does not mean we'll have 312 in the month of September. I just want to be clear about that. That means we're just getting started.
Oh, no. We will have a schedule in September
Yes.
and hopefully a 312 in November.
Yeah, some of us aren't entirely sure what it involves yet either. So
yeah, we're going to be building a plane while we're flying it, which is always a good time.
Yes.
And for those on the call who aren't sure what a release team is, it's the group of people who are in charge of shepherding the new release that is coming up in the fall. So we'll, do the schedule, we'll nag developers, we'll, write the press releases and all the various pieces that come with getting a release out. Yeah. Thanks Jane and Taryn and Gary and Michelle and Ruth. The Girls and Gary is our official team name.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on. Yes, yay, release team. Susan speaks for all of us in chat. Right. The last thing I was going to spend any time on at all, really, other than saying hooray for the new community calendar just below there, is Evergreen upgrades. I always like to take a moment just to pause here to celebrate and ask if anybody has upgraded since the last time. Just kind of like to get an idea of our community because we come together so often, but to kind of feel where we are in the different versions. So if anybody has anything they want to update, of course, you all have edit access. You can update your own notes there. Or does anybody want to celebrate with all of us to make an announcement about an upgrade or a planned upgrade at this moment? You're welcome to. And I will add it to the notes. Otherwise, you can feel free to update your own notes. There's some on there that are hoping to move this winter, some that are planning to move this fall, and goodness gracious, fall is upon us. Pine's going to upgrade to 312 in February. Go Pines, always leading the way. And I will put anything else in chat, I will add here. And all these that say fall, good luck to you all, and I wish you all the best. And so first of the year, especially by March and April, we'll have people that have moved to 311, people that have moved to 312. So in the spring, we can just talk about all we've learned. So again, you're welcome to, and again, thank you, Mary, for your Bibliomation is planning a move to 311 in the first quarter of 2024. Okay, we'll make sure that that's reflected as well. Exciting days. And I think last month I celebrated the Unified Community Calendar. Thanks to the Outreach Committee, it is now on the Evergreen website. So when you click on the Community Calendar link on the Evergreen website, you are taken to the new Unified Community Calendar. So we can celebrate one more time. Hooray! That just means that all of our interest groups and various different groups of things, or which Galen now calls the IG core, and I kind of like that, is there you can find them all in one place without subscribing to multiple calendars. You can just subscribe to the one, or just keep that link bookmarked somewhere for just the one. And each interest group has somebody assigned, one person or more assigned, to make sure that that stays updated if there are any changes in the calendar. So hooray for community. I don't know, community working together. Collaboration, that's the word I was looking for. Hooray for collaboration. The only other note I found in looking at the meeting notes is, well, I guess I should say the authorities working group. We haven't put out dates for that working group for September and October beyond the meeting we just had last week. So those will come very, very soon. And different change from regular meeting dates is permissions working group is meeting on a different day this month. So instead of meeting on the 4th Tuesday, they're going to meet on the 19th. So next week rather. I love Andrea's note in chat. Collabomunity. Yes. Any other interest group have any announcement they want to make before we move on? Other than please find the best way you want to be involved. Even if you just want to sit in on a meeting. You don't have showing up at a meeting doesn't mean you're going to walk away with homework.
Ooh, it's not my interest group, but I want to brag about DIG.
Please do.
I am a member of DIG, and that is that DIG has Susan and Beth and Debbie and Elizabeth Davis and Jennifer Pringle, most especially, have taken Sitka's reports documentation and used those as the basis. Did I say Susan also? Mm-hmm. Susan Morrison have taken the Sitka's reports documentation and used it as the basis for a full reports docs rewrite, which I am reviewing and pushing this week. So again, cataloger adjacent, but for those of you who run reports and go to the documentation for that, DIG has spent like 6 months making that better. So thank you, DIG.
Big thanks. Okay, I think lots of words in there, but woohoo! Yes, I can't wait to see that. Actually, that's been needed for very long. So thanks to all of you for pushing that forward, and to Sitka for Jennifer. I don't know if you're here, but thanks to Sitka for giving us a place to start. Yes, Trisha just echoed in chat what I was saying. She's grateful to Sitka for their documentation. So giving us a great place to start makes such things possible. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else about interest groups? I'm just going to slowly move along. scroll down screen. I'll mention the authorities working group. I said we haven't scheduled the next ones. That's because the authorities working group is trying to meet kind of bi-weekly to keep momentum through the summer, having actual working group sessions. So if you've seen those messages go out to invite you, anybody's available to join these meetings, most certainly. What we really want are your authorities related questions. So these working sessions are just that. We all get together and set aside time, as we're able to do, who can attend them, to just start working on documentation and answering some of these questions and finding sources and putting those in a format that can be shared. And then ultimately, what can then be submitted to DIG for consideration to be put into the formal documentation. But for now, we're just answering questions. Yeah, and Tricia wants to make sure that she says the working sessions have been good. Oh, wait, I can't do the Canada. They've been good, so that we're getting stuff done. We really were. And thanks again to Tricia and to Maggie from Niagara Falls, who made the suggestion, and also for being flexible in whether or not we include the U in cataloging. They're incredibly accommodating for such things. So yes, thanks to them for leading this effort, and to everybody on the authorities working group. Again, anybody's welcome to come and just be part of this. We set the expectation that it is just a working session. When we have a business meeting, we'll make sure that that's announced as such too. For a while, it's just working sessions. Okay. Enough announcements. Move along. Launchpad bugs are still there. On every month, I just include links to lots and lots of bugs. These are the different things that you could search yourself in Launchpad if you wanted. We just pull them out to make them easier. If you want to look at them while we're talking, in no way are we insulted, go out there and look at them. And that way, if you have anything you want to talk about while we're all together, you can throw that on the end of the list, or we'll have time at the end of our session to talk about any specific bugs you might want to, usually. Staff catalog blocker, we talked about last month. We are currently now at 12. We're going the wrong way. We had 10, now we have 12. These are things that we cannot do without if we were to lose the traditional catalog. That's what the staff catalog blocker is. I'm not going to look at any of those specifically today. Again, we looked at them a little last month, and one of the things I said I would do, and will still do, is document all those back to the community, what these 12 are, just as a reminder to get conversation going about those. But today's not the day for that. Today is the day for monograph parts. Without slipping over Launchpad bugs too quickly, if there is indeed something that you want to add, either drop it in chat, or there's just an open space here at the bottom to talk about any specific bugs. So if you want to add those there to the agenda, that's the place to do it. And while I'm here, and so I don't run out of time, just a note about our next meetings will be the regular second Tuesdays. So we'll meet October 10th, will be part 2 of parts. Following that, November, the second Tuesday in November, we're going to talk about cataloging reports. We did this a little over a year ago. We have a wish list, and we want to revisit that and then start actually materializing cataloging reports that we can be used, and kind of crowdsource some of that to see what people want, what they need, it might be using already. So the month for reports and cataloging is November. Now, backing back up, let's talk about parts. I can say that in the demo server, and I set it up now, I need to check, it's probably gone now, but 11.1, you can experiment with parts if you want to. So if you're not using them in your system and you want to be able to use a different system to do that, especially after today's conversation, feel free to use the community demo to do just that. I can say something about parts, or I just very, very happy to turn this over to Mary Llewellyn and Kate Coleman from the organizing committee, who are using them on a much regular basis, to give us an intro to parts, how you're using them, what they mean. That's a very loose introduction. Mary, can I just toss it to you?
Sure. Well, the thing I try to impress upon our librarians is parts are about wholes. It's when a bib record has items that have disparate pieces, like a multi-volume set of graphic novels, or for us, chiefly, it seems to be used for DVDs, because we have libraries with 2 different philosophies of how they want to circulate their DVDs. One thought is to circulate them all in a set, and the other is to break up the set and circulate the discs individually. So there was never thought that we could get everybody on the same page. The ones who want to circulate separately, they're committed to that because it helps their circ stats. So once parts became part of our lives, it was a way to have the 2 philosophies live together on the same bib record. So if you have the TV set, for example, I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my example. What we do, we have it set up so that once a part is on any one item, then title level holds are no longer in play. That was the way. I think that's 2 words, I believe. Vampire Slayer is 2 words. That was the way back in the old client, and for a while that no longer worked, and we have some more old confusion. But we've got it working now again so that title level holds are null and void once parts are involved. So what I decided to do was to create a conceptual part called boxed set. So if a library wants to circulate the entire set, that's the part we tell them to use. And then the others can put in their parts as disc 1, disc 2, etc. And it's kind of herding cats, trying to get everybody on the same page. But I think for the most part, it's fairly successful. And so I mentioned the other use of parts if you look for a set of graphic novels. If the graphic novel has its own part title, then we put them on separate records, and parts aren't involved in that case. We also, if you have a multi-volume, like a multi-volume biography, I think there's one on LBJ that's in several volumes. So the librarians would put volume 1, 2, and 3 on the separate pieces, and then the patron can say, all right, I've read volume 1, now I'm going to put a hold on volume 2. One wish I've heard expressed over the years was they would like their patrons to be able to place multiple part holds and have them filled in a sequential version, so kind of like Netflix used to be, but I don't see that ever happening. I've never heard it discussed in the community, but so they could just place their holds ahead of time and just get them filled in the order in which they were placed. Another problem I've run into is, like I mentioned, if you've got a series set and each title in the series is on its own record, I get some librarians confused and they go and put parts, it's volume 2 of Babysitter's Club, they'll put volume 2 on their item, and then all the other libraries who own it are shut out of their patrons being able to place holds. So I'm always having to go clean that up. And that's about all I can think of to say. If there's any questions, see if I can answer them. One of the links I put up, which fingers crossed you can see, is of a slideshow I did trying to make it clear to my libraries again what's going on with the why parts, and how to go ahead and put parts on and when not to. For instance, we ask if your DVD has a second disc that's just features. We don't recommend you circulate that separately, so don't put a part on that.
I'm trying to capture everything you had in chat. So that I can get it there. Okay, notes. Do you have a note? Tricia says they've had to disable part level holds because anything other than a title type hold really messes up your self checkouts.
Well, I haven't heard anything mentioned about that, but it sort of flies in the face of trying to get the two philosophies to live on the same record.
Mm-hmm. Capture this at the same time. Anybody else using parts that have had difficulty using them or things they found successful? I know this box set, just to be clear, Mary, that's specific to your consortium, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
something I dreamed up, just so a part hold could be placed on the full set, and they won't be shut out.
And as I recall correctly, is that something that can be set now within Evergreen, that you can assign what that terminology is instead of, or is that when you place the hold that all parts hold?
Well, when you go and you catalog it, you put in the term box set,
Right.
and attempting to have controlled vocabulary about that, but again, herding cats. So every now and again, I'll run a report to see who put it all in capitals, because it makes a difference if you need to merge a record or something. It's you end up with two box sets, one all in caps and one not.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Capitalization is so important.
Yep. I wish there was some way I could set up a controlled list, and then they could pick from it all the time. But it's they're typing in, or I'm typing it in, and I'm trusting them to
the perils of free
follow
will.
my directions. Yeah. So I have SQL queries to look up what's going on in the parts world and try to get things back in order.
And I know that we want to talk a little bit more about this next month, but that's the reason we wanted to introduce
a question come up.
Go ahead.
See. When they place the hold, the patrons see a list of available parts, and box set is on the list, and discs 1, 2, and 3 are on the list. So it's up to the patron to pick what they want. So it's still a part hold either way. I don't know if you've got people who turn up their nose at a separate disc when they've got a chance to place a hold on a full set, but then get into hold policies. Who allows their DVDs to get shipped to another library? So that's sometimes that might place a hold and it's rejected, and it's probably because of the hold policies of an individual library.
For those of you that have a controlled vocabulary, would you be willing to share them with the community as others may be trying to put together their best practices?
The document I shared has a couple of pages on that.
Okay, great.
Me too, if you scroll down to the bottom of the NC Cardinal documentation.
Get all the way back up there, Jessica. It
has like a little table.
There you are. NC Cardinal. Gotcha. So let's put that under resources. Okay, got that. I think I've got most of bibliomation at this point. And we've got Indiana. Thank you. Anybody here that's not using parts? I don't know how I'm going to do this, but raise your hand. I don't know if you have questions at all about the way they're being used or anything you ran into and thinking about implementing them. I think the whole controlled vocabulary as catalogers, it's kind of a joke I made, but it's the controlled vocabulary that's completely not controlled other than just by asking people to do the right thing. Which is a little bit what Mary was talking about. I mean, if you capitalize something you shouldn't have, it's no longer a controlled vocabulary, which is a big part of wish list for the development here, I think.
Yeah, I can't even picture where this controlled vocabulary would live. And it'd probably be mixed. The DVD vocabulary would be mixed with the book, and then you'd have people using the book one instead of the DVD one. So I think there's still possibility for chaos, even with some controlled vocabulary.
That's true. I'm going back through here. Time. I'm terrible at trying to be able to capture notes. I'm not as quick as I used to be, I should say, at capturing notes, but I'm getting there. Will says from North Carolina, if it doesn't cover all possible situations or circumstances, but they've tried to keep it relatively consistent, that's the North Carolina control vocabulary, yes. And I think when people get used to it,
Ah,
yeah, yeah, why not?
That's a nice thought. We've had parts for a number of years now, and there's still no getting used to it.
Yeah, and Jonathan says Evergreen has policy for parts, but you still find parts that are incorrect quite a bit. Yeah, and that's one of the things we want to talk about next month, I think, is just that kind of quality control of parts because it is so so open to just people typing what they want to into those boxes without having any kind of,
Well,
stop
we
sign.
we do have a bibliographic record correction form that includes boxes for reporting parts problems. Not that we get many reports that way, but um, most often I get a report about a part that was put on that shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of hairy because then if there's holds attached to it, I'm kind of wary of playing with the existing part, especially if it's like a really new popular YA novel. Then I sort of have to we wait, or I might even go put parts on the books that even though they shouldn't have it, just to get the holds moving again, and then go back and revisit it when the holds die down.
That's very interesting. I'm trying to watch. You get some great conversations going on here in the chat. I'm trying to scroll back up so I don't lose that. And I think the conversation that's going on here between Will and Carol about parts are listed in a single record on the item edit screen is true, but she's right. You can always just type in something new if you want directly from that screen, which was an improvement.
Oh, and another improvement was the ability to merge parts. If someone did the all capitals box set and we had the correct box set listed, I could merge the two, and then we don't have to worry about any holds that might be affected if there were some placed on the big box set. So that was a blessing when they developed merging parts.
Yes, because so much of the cleanup would be just that, isn't it? Merging parts.
Yep.
Yeah. And Jonathan had a note here about often the parts look so different from what the policy says, you feel uncomfortable trying to fix or merge them without consulting your listserv. Yeah, absolutely. I think this may be one of those things that consortial committees, unique to your consortium outside of what we do here, can deal with most effectively is just that. Say, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm looking at it. We have a policy and this just looks crazy.
Well, I just make an executive decision and do something with it, whether it's merging or editing or something to make it conform.
Oh, and I see Terrence note they get some people who think they're supposed to put parts on everything they catalog. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I need a moment. I'll be back. That's terrible.
I see you put a note there about being able to add parts in the Holdings editor screen. I think that's where most of my librarians are doing part work anyway. Not so much the monograph part tab.
Yeah, I don't know if Kim Burns is still in here. I added it to 3.9 now. He's gone. Okay, I'll add something to 3.11 so we can do this, but let's just pretend that something's a part that's not a part so that we can at least look at something here. Something that doesn't have a lot of items on it.
My go-to is Ready Player One.
I was going to ask, mine's usually Pineapple Express, but let's see if we have. There we are.
Yeah, we've got all different formats of that, so.
I'll take away the parts when I add them today. But yes, so we talk about just being able to do this in the I can do it in the holdings view, but if we just go to add holdings, for example, quick and easy way. I'm sorry, I much prefer the unified. So if anybody doesn't, I apologize, but that's what we're going to look at now. There's the unified version. So yeah, so when you're adding part, you can type in anything you want to here. If there's no part at all, then I can just type in disk 1. nothing's stopping me from calling that lowercase d or putting an S on it or
No.
using an O. Nothing at all is stopping me. So the next time I come in here, disk 1 will be there that I can choose from. But
You
I could
can
just
add disk 2 now as well. If you're adding another item, you can add multiple, but you can't make 2 items and both be disk 1 within the holdings editor. You've got to save it and come back in, and then you can add disk 1 to other items.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're right. So just to show how you can add multiples there. So we could keep adding
Mm-hmm.
disk 3, disk 4.
Right.
Is that what Jessica asked? You can still add only 1 new part per item holdings creation. Nope, I think we just found that, absolutely, we can add disk 1, 2, 3. I could do that here.
Right. But if you had 3 copies of disk 1, only the first copy can get that part. And then you have to save the holding, and then you can come back and add the rest of the.
That's called an embarrassment of riches, Mary. 3 copies of disk 1.
No, but I mean, it happens.
It does.
Especially for me when I'm going and doing some cleanup. If I've been told that there's a holds problem on a DVD set, I'll go in and I'll find the other libraries who should have had parts, and I'll go add them for them.
Yeah. Which is, like I said, next month when we talk even more about how we can implement some of this control here. And I can do this because I know it will be cleaned up for me the end of the week. So I'm not just adding junk. And I don't have any templates, of course not. Blech. I'm trying very hard not to be. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to add these as they are because you can all judge me anyway. It's fine. That is really bad cataloging. I just want to see the parts. There we are. Good enough. Test parts items are what they are. So here we are.
And yeah, you're gonna have to.
I did it at the cons level. Shame on me. Who let me do that?
I was focused on the other screens, the other part of the screen.
All of the things you should not do in one afternoon. Okay, let's try that again. Now, how am I still logged in? I did not log in at cons. Swear I did not. Okay, well, we're not going to go down that path too hard. This is the one I used. And parts I need to add. Parts is there. Where did I miss the part? There's parts. Okay. Yeah, hold it. Fine. Fine. I'm going to fix this. Meanwhile, let's see what other questions are going on while I'm completely messing up adding parts. Anita from the Indiana Evergreen Consortium. Positive feedbacks for consistent addition of magazine parts. Yes, thank you for that. For serials that repeat their part every year, that means you can choose last year's part and change the year. Less typing, less work, fewer mistakes. Really,
yeah, we do that
nice.
for like travel guides. I'll put in the part for the year, the current year, and they're supposed to use that. Again, I don't know how many patrons are going to place a part hold on one of the older years, but what are you going to do?
Yep. No, I'm glad that Anita, you mentioned that with serials, because that was the very first way I used monograph parts was for serials, and as an alternative or supplement to the serials module. I'm not making a comment one way or the other.
We have 1 or 2 libraries that will add a part for the date of the issue so that their patrons can place a hold on just that issue. I don't really encourage that much. If you have serials, there is such a thing as an issue hold in the public catalog. Wow, you definitely don't go chasing to add those parts to all the other libraries who own that issue. It's like, you know what? If they didn't care enough to add a part, then I'm not going to worry about it, because I don't think holds are really that common with the magazines and for us.
No. Well, and then there's that whole patron education piece, like you're just saying, that teaching your patrons about placing holds that require them to choose a part, and then having vocabulary that's accessible enough for patrons to understand what they're being asked of, which is nice that you're able to do that box set, because that's very clear what a box set is. If you just have control, and I'm sure many of you have something similar to that, as opposed to that all parts thing has been confusing at times.
Yeah. I think that was supposed to be like, sort of a wildcat, like Google's "Are you feeling lucky?" Kind of a thing. But it was really hard to convey that, let alone get it to work the way we needed it.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Okay, so I have added DVD parts to a book, and I promise I'll go back and clean that up. But just for an idea, I wanted to show what the placeholds look like while we're here together.
If you go to I was going to say, if you go to the patron view, you'll see what the patrons see.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'll do that. So here, as far as if you're on the staff side, placing a hold.
Yeah, we removed that so that all they get is the discs listed.
So any part is gone. So it is possible for you to limit and remove that any part.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll add that to our notes. And that's relatively new too. And I will make sure we put that in the notes. So let's return. And then also patron view. Thank you for the patron view. And here we are. If we place a hold here. And I have to log into my account. That's okay. That's odd. Here we go.
Right. So again, you've got your all
there
parts.
It is. The chart. Yeah.
We take away.
Mm-hmm.
The parts end up in alphabetic order, so box set is usually at the top of the list.
Yep. And
so
what you're
even
seeing,
if they forget to go pick a part, I think box set will then be picked up automatically.
Will be the default.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it's in view.
Mm-hmm. And this is probably showing this way because I just added parts to a few of the items on this bib record, which is not what we should be doing. But to show you this is what happens if you do something silly like that, is you might end up with this choice. But unless you've taken advantage of the development, it says you can remove that. Let's go back through chats. Trisha asked, aside from DVDs, what other uses do people have for parts? Britta says you include parts if an audiobook is split into multiple cases. Oh, right. Like the Outlander series. Will says they use parts for encyclopedias. Tiffany at Pines, they use parts for graphic novels and manga. Yeah. Use a record for the series versus individual volume records.
Right. Any multi-volume set.
Anything at all. And as you said before, Chrissy just echoed that they use for travel guides. I also found those once a year cooking books that come out, those Christmas cookbooks.
Southern Cooking Christmas.
There you go. Southern Cooking Christmas. That's it. Tricia says parts allow you to approach cataloging in a different way. Then, yeah, you can see how you could use it. Oh, great. Except for the self-checkout issue. Anybody else using that self-checkout and see if that could problem? Today's also not the day for that, but when you start looking at discovery layers, looking at how parts are going to integrate with that is something else that's on, I was going to say on the horizon, but it's kind of here now. So we start talking about parts. Yeah, Britta, I know any part. It is a lie. It's a great big lie. That's what it is. So that any and all parts is vocabulary that I think we all would like to do away with. Taryn says she thinks the demo server might actually reset the data each night anyway. Oh, that's much better than I don't have to clean it up today. Thank you. I don't know why I was thinking a week. I'm fine with it cleaning up every night because I would very much like for it to not keep what I do to the demo server every day.
Well, an easy way to clean it up, since there aren't any holds involved today, is just go to monographic parts, the tab, and just select them all and say delete, and then you're golden.
Well, we might as well just show you how to do that.
Right.
Since I cleverly set this up for us to do just that. There we go. Delete. Gone. So now if I look at my my item table again, no parts. All gone. Sorry. So don't accidentally do that thinking that you're merging them and cleaning them up. No, you're removing parts too if you do that. Indiana, Anita says that separated their discs found out that they lost DVD circulations. Almost everyone chooses all disc. See, that's interesting to kind of see what it does.
I wondered about that myself. If, like I said, what patron is going to gravitate toward disc 2? They can just see the whole set, take the whole set home. But and let the libraries make that decision themselves on that one.
And I would wonder how much that's tied to the loan duration period too. I mean, do you let people keep DVDs for 2 or 3 days? Then they might not want the whole box. I don't know if anybody does that, but you wouldn't want the whole box set. But if you can keep them for 7,
libraries, especially for the TV series, they tend to go a week.
Yeah, that's enough time. let's see, Jessica wanted to mention accompanying maps and index volumes. That's nice. Carol, text exam
We would
prep.
only do that if it was possible that that map or that index volume is going to circulate separately, because it's all about the holds. Is a
Yep.
patient going to place a hold on the map, and maybe it's not necessary to break it out if they're not.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to put an item note that says has map, or map and back or something, just to let them know there's a map. But if it's not going to affect circulation, I don't know that I would go to a hold.
Yeah. And Jessica
Okay.
says their maps are stored separately. Yes. Let's see what else. These are great conversations. I'm going to pull all of the chat notes, I promise, over into our official notes here. Will says one challenge we encountered was training non-cataloging staff in how to understand and place holds on parts. Yes, because they were the ones that would have to instruct patrons in how to do it. Patron education is so very important. Cataloging staff usually were not the ones who dealt with patrons directly. Yeah. And I think some of this dev work that's just recently been implemented, and some of it that's on the horizon, as Andrea shared with us, it's going to be able to help with that. Anita, haven't heard of any problems with self-checkout because of parts only alert messages shut it down. Oh, bother. That's a different. Oof. Yep, alert messages. Tiffany, I have a question for the group about that all parts label when you get to me here in the chat. Okay, Tiffany, all parts label.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you were going through chat, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Fine.
So we had someone open a help desk ticket for us that was saying our patrons were just, a lot of times they were just doing that any part or all part label, and so they were just getting something random.
Mhm.
So
Like I said, are you so lucky?
yeah, exactly. So I wrote a patch and I was wondering how broadly applicable it is. And I had to come in halfway through the meeting, so I'm so sorry if you guys already discussed this. But basically what it does is it kind of like what Mary was saying with where you only have the options for the disc one, disc two, or whatever, taking out the all part. And so it would have that first option, and it just says for us, choose a part, and that's disabled, so they can't actually choose it. And if there are parts on the record, you can't place the hold until they choose a part. So like it's required to choose a part if there are parts. So is that applicable to anybody else other than us? Because for us, if there are parts, then they should choose one. Like, it's a parts record or it's not for us. So does anybody else do parts like that, or are yours more
You're
like
set up
mixed?
to disable title level holds as soon as a part is present on any item. So they'll have to pick a part to place a hold. So any parts, I think, is like a title level hold, isn't it?
Yes, it'll it'll try to capture a hold on any item on that record that does not have a part attached.
Right. So we didn't want that. So we've had a long history of killing title level holds as soon as a part is present on any item, any or all.
We've also found we get those if someone attempts to do the any part hold on a record that only has parts on them. I think they get a high level hold has no copies error.
Yeah, we were getting a lot of that until Jessica was able to reinstall the title level hold killer. And so we were getting tons of help desk tickets from our librarians, and I could tell without looking, there's parts on an item, that's why you're getting this message. But I think those tickets have calmed down now that we've put in the title level hold killer.
So it sounds like, Tiffany, that your patch does kind of the same thing there as far as it forces the patrons to choose a part, so they can't really do something that's going to give them that error message.
Right. Like they can't place the hold. Like there is no option to not choose a part. Like there's no any part option. They can't choose that. And they have to select one of the parts before the place hold button is active.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we've done also. We've taken that choice out of view.
Forgive me if I haven't been following the Launchpad close enough. So, Mary, is this something that's been done specifically for you, or has it been released?
I'm not sure.
Because it sounds a lot like what Tiffany's patch does. And I wonder if they're both doing the same thing, but
maybe they are. Maybe they're the same patch.
Yeah, that would be interesting. If you guys have that, I would be interested in seeing it. Mary?
Yeah, I don't have access to that, and Jessica's just had a baby, so
it might be a little while.
might be a little while before we can.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's that little girl.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm missing nuance here, but that does sound a lot like the work that we did for Evergreen, Indiana that's linked up there, 1965446. So I am not awesome at parts myself, but I think that that's very similar. So there might be 3 different patches for this floating out there.
Oh my.
But one is main.
No, I'm sure Jessica didn't write the patch we're using, so she may have gotten it from you. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I've just recreated then what's up, because we're on 310, so we're not.
Yeah,
I think we're 310.
This one into 311, but I can imagine it being an easy cherry pick.
Yeah, we're in 3.9, and we just started using it a couple of months ago.
Right on.
I want to mention another issue we run into is some libraries will add their items and not add parts when they should have done, and so title level holds get placed, and someone else comes along and follows the parts rules, and then the title level holds are kind of frozen out. So that's when someone reports to me or their holds aren't moving, and I go through and I replace the holds as part holds, and I'll delete the title level holds just to get things moving again. And then I'll make sure all the items attached to that record have parts on them.
Well, I am extremely glad we had this conversation. So once again, great minds think alike. You're all out there creating the same work. So I'm glad we discovered it's kind of the same thing. So yes, we love the idea everywhere it's introduced. Hello, Janet. Good to hear from you. Janet asked, is title level hold killer new? Yes. Years ago at a library that added a
not so much. We had it in the old client.
Title level hold killer.
Well, I'm calling it that. I don't know technically what it's called, but I do know that we've said it so presence of a part.
I
will not
see.
allow new title level holds, and it won't let the old title level holds, pre-existing title level holds, be filled. It goes back to Ben Shum's day. That's how far back we've been doing that.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's just kind of, yep. It's very clever. That's the word I was looking for, Will. That's clever. Just throw a part on it, and that's going to prevent title level holds. Okay. Yep. That's what you call working the system right there. It works, though. I don't know that I called it a title level hold killer, though, Janet. I love that. It's a perfect description.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
The any all parts work was not part. Haha. Your last bullet point.
Okay.
That is part of the one up above 190-2120. And that is we're rebasing and cleaning that up for whatever the release that I'm release managing, 312.
312. Okay, let me move that. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm sorry to backseat edit.
No, I'm glad you did. No, it's very important
to be clear about that, because those are two separate things.
Definitely. I'm doing too much copy and pasting. Thank you. That there. And what's interesting is we talk about, and I know our time's up, but we talk about cherry picking some of this. So some of you may be on 310, but you may have this already if you've chosen to implement this particular bug. Okay, let's see. I'm just seeing the conversation continue about title holds.
Right. What Christy describes is what I was trying to describe. That title level holds were created before the parts. Then I've got to go do something about them, or they're going to languish. So I'll go and I'll create part holds for them and delete the title level holds.
Got it.
Here's another wish list thing. I wish there was some way we could transform what level a hold is, so I can magically change it from title to part without having to do a lot of manipulating. I tried that once in SQL and broke a bunch of holds on a record, and Ben had to put it back for me. It was too bad because we had one of our rare after work gatherings in a restaurant. So he sat with his laptop at this gathering fixing what I broke. I felt really bad.
Mary, Evergreen, Indiana has been working on that project. I don't have a time frame of when it'll be complete, but it has been. Yeah.
Excellent.
It is being worked on.
Yes.
And I will caution as an outsider, we are not the ones working. Equinox is not the ones working on it, but I know from looking into that work that it is a rabbit hole full of spiders.
Yes.
So just temper your expectations.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Yes, I wanted to try to. I can't find a quick emoji to put spiders in there. I want a spiders in a rabbit hole now. That's what I want. Okay. But there's a bug for that. Okay. Yep. Okay, well, I will do my best to get all this chat in here. This is fabulous. I can imagine next month we're going to take all this and we're going to do it in a formal kind of way. All the things that we just said, we being, whoever wants to contribute to that, because I'll start a conversation, a thread here in a couple of weeks so that we're prepared for next month. So we can start talking about not only the wish list things, but how we found creative ways to use this, the most recent development that's come out. We'll document that a little better than what I just did. And then we'll just talk about kind of community standards and start collecting that. And then also the thing we didn't really get to today and had not intended to really is this reporting idea to help with and share what you may have already to kind of, again, crowdsource ways, the kinds of reports we may want, and then be able to share across libraries about ways that we are trying to monitor our controlled vocabularies.
Yeah, I don't know about reports. I have a SQL query.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, several SQL queries. One will look for aberrant capitalization on terms we use. And I run another one through request of the libraries to give them a list of say DVDs that they don't have parts on, but parts exist, so they can go and fix them. And the only ones who ask me for that usually end up with maybe 2. So they're very good about it.
And I am grabbing, Trisha had a note in there about self-checkout. I'm grabbing Anita's note about self-checkout.
Mary, would you share that query that you used? I made one and it is so ugly. Yours is probably better than mine. I would love that query for letting people know if they're missing holds.
Okay.
Or if they're missing parts rather.
Sure.
Let me just pop that in here for next time. Just way down here at the bottom until I get it cleared up. Next time. Oh, and it's purple. Hooray. I don't know why it's purple, but reports. Mary has a sequel or missing parts. Query.
And I usually run through the list first to see if there's any rogue parts on it that need to be removed so that the library doesn't have to worry about it. So it's a twofold.
Hey.
Yeah. Twofold benefit.
Great. And thanks to Michelle for finding the wish list bug for changing one hold type to another so we can follow along. It's there. Okay. So next month is definitely about reports, but Mary is going to get us started on that to share her SQL query for missing parts. It's a request from Tiffany, just so we can look at that before next month. And your conversations are continuing. I'm going to, since it's 3:05 Eastern time, I'm going to go ahead and just turn off the recording, but we can stick around and chat as long as we want to. I'll share the notes back out, of course, and let you know when they're done. Since there's so many of them this time, I will send a note to the listserv. Thank you all for an excellent conversation. Please plan to join us next month as we continue with part 2 of parts. Have a wonderful September and early October till we see you again.